they're paying, 10 US dollars, 20 US dollars for a brand new 60 US dollar game because it's in a company that would not be able to afford it at full price, and then they're selling it over here. And that's basically what would happen with the Japanese audio in the US.
Yeah.
The other thing you got to remember is the Japanese VAs have a lot more power and a lot more clout than English VAs, so that they have their contracts are a lot more restrictive and more lucrative because now you're talking about not just the American market, you're talking about the Korean market, the Chinese market, and the other things. So they have more difficult contracts.
That makes sense. Like I was gonna say, not even just the VAs, but someone who manages that studio could very easily also have ties to the parent company.
Usually was what tends to happen in Japanese companies.
Well, that tends to happen with most companies. Yes.
I'm guessing some of this that's being discussed has to do with the fact that sometimes Super Robot Wars games get released in Southeast Asia, it's them here. And in Southeast Asia, they're in English.
Yeah, it's basically what it is.
Southeast Asia is Wild Wild West.
They just
we don't know how these 1,500 copies of this game showed up here. They'll sell to you for $69.99, but we don't have no idea where it came from.
But there are the things I like, right? So my favorite series is the Atelier series. That's my personal favorite series. That game has been niche from day one, right? And it wasn't until the PS2 era that game even came out, and they already had 5 games. But I picked up that first game and I was like, this is the best game I've ever played. And so that game series has only it was different in the PS2 era, and then it went back to its more traditional roots. That game is niche through and through because it's always been niche. And so to me, there are the big powerhouse companies are Square, and then they end up merging into one mother company, and then they lose track of what they're doing. And you have a bunch of niche companies that are popping up or who have been around, and they're still making those games. But even in our genre, I could tell you a game, and probably a third of the room might not have heard of it before, just because I thought I turned this off.
Just put the silence on here. Do you have an iPhone 7 Plus?
No, I don't.
Or iPhone 7?
I don't have an iPhone 7.
Put it on 7.
I do not buy Apple.
Ow.
That's just unfair. There are some people that buy Apple. It's not me. There are some.
I come from an IT family. Apple is not IT friendly.
Which is funny because your parents both have iPhones.
I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it.
I convinced the dev not to use Flash because he had an iPhone. So
Alright. But back on topic, to me, JRPGs can have some really out there mechanics, and they almost seem kind of dumbed down when they bring up Western games. The Atelier series, for example, is a game entirely devoted to alchemy. The game is 90% alchemy, and you don't even have to do combat in half of it. And to think of that as a Western game, it's almost unheard of to have a game that can just devoid you of battle, 90% of the time. And so it's not really our Western audiences that play video games, the people who you look at the top games that get sold. Call of Duty, as much as I hate it, is definitely the top selling game. It's all action. There is no alright, I'm crafting my items, alright, I'm taking my time to make, alright, I'm looking at all these different ingredients. I have a big TV and I still sit up close because there's so much information on the screen that I have to piece by piece take in. That doesn't happen in one of those Call of Duties or first person shooters or even even Fallout. I don't have to do that in Fallout. But I'm sure there's a mod to do it, yes.
I wonder what the correlation is between ADD and...
Yes.
As an Atelier fan, I have to ask, because I got into the series in 1 and 2.
Oh no.
And so I have to ask...
Between 1 and 2 is not a very good term. What is the sub name?
Yeah, right.
The sub game?
There's
The sub-name.
there's like the Iris series.
Oh yeah.
Maru.
Okay, so no, I started with the Monocane sub series, I guess.
Mhm.
I tried to get into, I want to say Rona says the Arland.
Yeah, Rorona is the Arden series.
I couldn't really get into it because it was so different from Monocamia. Is any of the newer ones closer as far as combat?
Monokemia is my favorite.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hand down, the first Monokemia, my favorite of the entire
Absolutely.
genre. But here's the thing, that time mechanic, I'm still not a big fan of it. Like, and it's hard to go from those PS2 games to the PS3 games at first. By the time I picked up, right, so I started with Verona, did Totori, then got to Meru. I did not get it at first with Verona. When I got to Totori, I was like, alright, I'm kind of getting it, but I'm not getting to that end game. And then when I got to Meru, it was done. Like, I understood that time system. And you have to understand, along the line, they went back in it. It feels that time system management is almost flat in Verona compared to what it is now in, what was the one? Like, Shali. Ulterior Shali. No. Eska and Logi is the one where it's really
Eska
good.
and Logi is the one I picked up that seemed the most similar, but
Yeah, Eska and Logi, once you get up to like Eska and Logi, it's streamlined so many stuff. Like your events now is on your fast travel map, and your alchemy feels like you can essentially have a place where you refill your alchemy items over time, and your one-use items refill when you go back to town just at a monetary value, instead of that, like, all right, now I need to spend 100 days crafting potions throughout my game, you know?
Is there anybody else out there that's played the Ulterior series?
Actually, I was
Okay,
gonna ask
there are a few that
that.
actually understand what he's talking
I've
about.
always been a part of the Atelier series, but I've never got around to playing it. It's just been insistent to me. What would you recommend to start with?
To be honest, to
Because
me,
now there's like
the
I
PS2
know-
games are definitely, for me, my starting point. I recommend them to anyone, because they're the ones that, the first Ulterior Iris is definitely the easiest to play out of any of them. Because it doesn't have any time management. Two, the later games, it's on an item-by-item basis. The Ulterior Iris first, I'm not even sure about the second one, but the first one for sure is entirely, you break down components. So you have like earth, fire, wind, and that's how you synthesize things.
Okay.
And you don't feel that like, it's not like the new ones where you have those like, the achievement system is a crux on me, because now I know when I'm missing things. All right, in the PS2 era games, if I miss something, I just missed it, right? And I'm not going to feel awful about it. Now I need to play the game 3 times to feel like I've hit everything, because I can see that I'm missing something. And so like, when you play that JR Iris series, to me it's like, it's the most free, because you can just play it. And like, there's so much in that game. It's so dense, and like, you'll go into the shop, and the shop will have a cutscene every couple times. And you go into this, like the blacksmith, and the blacksmith will have a cutscene every time. And you'll go out into the world map, and like, there's so many cutscenes that happen, right? And they have specific triggers. In the early games, you might miss them, but you won't know that you're missing something. If you don't hit the triggers, it doesn't unlock the achievement that you hit, like max friendship on a certain character, and then you miss that character's ending, and then you know in the PS3, like PS4 games. So, to me, my recommendation is definitely the first couple games on the PS2, just because you can play those games very freely. You can just kind of explore that game, explore its world, and understand what that game has.
I noticed recently there was like a newer one on PS4, and now I'm like, oh, that sounds familiar.
They kind of do like one.
Yeah, I go to research it, and there's like 50 fucking billion. Of them.
Yeah, they kind of release one They kind of release one every year, right? And it's
especially the Ulterior games, the actual graphics is not spectacular in each game. They're very stylized, but they're kept fairly simple. So the only thing that they really have to focus on is the core gameplay.
Right.
So that's after animations and graphics and all that are done, they can just focus on
a lot of
what
them
the
are
game
on the
is
same
about.
engine. Like when I talk about series, there's a reason I do. The Iris series that isn't directly correlated to each other. but the Arlen series is, and then the Dusk series is, and so is now the I forget the name of the
It
series.
escapes me, but
Yeah.
To get back more on topic on like, the difference between...
Yeah, we'll talk about more general instead of just one.
So there's one thing that I just realized that is a very big difference. That was heavily influenced by the Western market. Was cutscenes. There are like no cutscenes nowadays, and so that's like most at least in like Western RPGs and stuff like that. There are very few cutscenes. Most everything is done in real time as you're just like walking around. JRPGs still function and still have that like those cutscene mechanics. I mean, there are a few, Witcher and stuff like that have great cutscenes, some great cutscenes, but most of them are kept very short and just straight to the point.
As a counterpoint to cutscenes, right? So cutscenes come along in PS1 era games. Once you drop out of that cutscene, you see the blocky characters going around, right? And so that kind of like the cutscenes are the chance to flex some muscles to like, this is what's going on, let's make it look epic. You don't necessarily need those cutscenes anymore. So a lot of like Western gamers in general haven't really enjoyed it as much. Yeah.
I think we're forgetting that before cutscenes we had FMV scenes.
Yeah.
Which were great for different reasons.
Yeah. but my point still stands. We had those cutscenes originally to help, visualize a graphically, underdeveloped era of games. And yes. And like making a cutscene now, it looks gorgeous. Don't get me wrong, but the game itself still looks gorgeous. And so if you can do a lot of the like talking and stuff in real time, it feels more involved. But then again, you become in this trope of, well, I'm playing a JRPG, I'm playing a story of someone else's perspective, right? You're eating up, a story, and you can take that cutscene in with like a great deal of like thing. Whereas a lot of people who play like Western RPGs or like action games, they'll skip that cutscene because it could be like 30 minutes long, right? And they just want to play the game. And so a lot of like Western RPGs will take that that cutscene moment and make it inside the like gameplay itself, so you're actually like you'll live through it.
What are you?
These are board games.
Oh, you're using that? Or?
Oh, they're mine.
You cannot have them.
We're not using them.
Sorry.
That's fine.
So I'll say that I love cutscenes, but I do like when there's the ability to skip them. I do remember a Kingdom Hearts cutscene.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think it was right before fighting Riku, and it just like
It was like 15 minutes long.
Yeah, it was like 15 minutes, and then just every time you die, you have to watch again.
Oh my gosh.
That's definitely a problem with especially with JRPGs. Western RPGs have had less of a problem with that. There are still a few, especially earlier on, but they, again, because RPGs don't favor cutscenes and stuff like that.
They kind of subvert it in total.
Although I feel sometimes when I find JRPGs that don't use cutscenes, it sometimes feels a bit lazy, and I'm specifically talking about Star Ocean 5. Because in that game, most of the time it's just you messing around with your character and the animations as everybody is just dumping exposition, and I'm like, this works in a game like Half-Life, but it doesn't really work in a game like Star Ocean where I'm used to like the epic cutscenes.
Yeah, I just want to talk for a second about Star Ocean 5. I went in there expecting so much.
I wasn't even expecting.
Let me tell you.
That's true, actually, I wasn't expecting a ton, but I was like, holy crap, Star Ocean 5, I haven't played a good Star Ocean game forever. This might change.
Still haven't played it.
Let me tell a game. On the flip side of that, right? Final Hallway 13. All right, as a game.
Which one?
The first one. As a game, it's not the greatest Final Fantasy, right? I did enjoy the system somewhat. Right?
Well, just as a separate game outside of Final Fantasy, it's okay.
It's okay. I enjoyed the game. What saved it for me to even enjoy the game in total are those cutscenes. There's that one cutscene where they all use their summons in one.
That was amazing.
That's like the best cutscene I've seen in the last couple of years.
Playing just to see that cutscene.
Yeah, exactly. And so to me, like, to see that cutscene saved that game for me just being like, this is the worst Final Fantasy I've ever seen. Why even have it? Because 2 exists.
Until we got Final Fantasy 15, and then that was
what it is.
Going on Final Fantasy 13, I have the game. I haven't even finished it yet. And I just like, I'm like,
you're not missing.
No,
You're really not missing
I don't like this game.
It opens up when like late game. It's a little too late to open up.
The acting is good.
The acting and the dub and sub, for what I can understand of it, are both voice acted fantastically. The animation's really great. Everything falls apart after that.
Yeah,
that's about it.
The game itself is not great, but the cutscenes to me are for me personally are worth it because I haven't enjoyed cutscenes of that level in a long time.
It is better than 12.
Yeah. It is better than 12.
Yeah, and like 12. Just to go back on like how like Western influence has been on JRPGs. 12 and 13 and now 15. And I guess 11, 14, whatever. Everything past 10.
15 plays like Kingdom Hearts. Let's get that right.
Well, everything basically from 11 onward has been so heavily influenced by Western RPGs. Obviously 11 has been influenced by WoW.
It came out first though.
This is true. My bad, not WoW. EverQuest.
14 is more.
Yeah, my bad. 11 is more based off of EverQuest. You're 11, whatever.
That's MMOs. That's a different topic.
Yeah. But the like action, like non-turn-based combat that they at least tried to do in 12. The
12
fake.
and 13 are the yin and yang. One has good story and characters. The other has good, like, decent gameplay. But the characters and story 12 are just
like 12's like active, non-active battle system and whatnot.
You could set the game to play itself.
Yeah, basically, you could set the game to play itself. But that was heavily.
I purposely go out of my way to make the game like not play itself and make every move for it.
Exactly.
That's like the other trend is like they keep putting in these new command and control systems for the new Final Fantasies. It's like go back to one that's old and I know it's boring, but at least it was one that really played.
And that's a big thing. And JRPGs as a whole need to like evolve. I shouldn't say as a whole, but JRPGs, just like any other genre, are going to evolve along with the other genres. And it's okay to have the old style games. We still have 2D platformers all the time being released every day on Steam. We still have first person like hallway shooters, like Doom-esque shooters that get re-released. But for JRPGs, and especially for the Final Fantasy series, they just haven't, except for with 15, with the exception of 15, they hadn't found the right balance between the fully active battles and the menu items, or menu system that is so prevalent in JRPGs.
Yeah. And let me tell you, if you ever played an Idea Factory game, you can understand how those menu systems can go so wrong. So if anyone's played like the original Hyperdimension Neptunia, that game, I had to like drive myself to get through it because I just wanted to complete it because I had that like drive. But there's like so much that you're trying to do at once. I'm like, please just simplify this game. I ended up like picking up like a set of combos for each row, and then you're like, I don't need anything else out this is like hundreds of menu items.
I actually beat the game without those combos.
Yeah, like it's like they get you to that point.
But Neptuna wins.
It's the game can function without them, but it's literally just there, and all it does is bog down that game. And so, if you ever played, what's the one that you picked up? They're all very dungeon crawly, and they're all very. There's so many menu options.
Yeah, and I go from like playing it like for a few weeks, and then I'm just like I can't do this stupid BS anymore, and then like I'll be like, oh, I had really fun last time I played that, so I do it again.
Until you remember all the unfun you had.
Yeah, it was kind of Hyperdimension-esque in the animation and like the art style.
It's the same idea.
Yeah, and like you go to different worlds, or not different worlds, but like different.
I can look it up.
I can't remember what it's called.
Google. It's okay. I got you. I'm looking.
No, it's not Perry Fencer. It was on the PS3.
It's on the PS3. It's about it released around the same time Hybrid Dimension Neptunia did.
And I like the characters and stuff like that, and it's just it's hard.
I have bad signal here.
It's hard to like force yourself to play it.
Okay. But yeah, so like with the Western influence on JRPGs, you know, in Western games, you usually have like one or two sets of items. That's about it. You know, you have your heal back to a button. You have your secondary weapon back to a button.
Or it's like Diablo, where it's just like throws all the equipment and loot at you, right?
Yeah.
But the game is still yeah.
But, in most JRPGs, it's all all the combat's menu based. Every character has like 8 to 10 different things they can do, and we can see the Western influence on it as the Kingdom Hearts games, the Final Fantasy games, as they're trying to bring these menu items outside of turn-based combat and into this fully active combat. Kingdom Hearts 1, the okay menu. Okay, it's not okay. No, I can't say that. The menu was bad. The menu was terrible.
Menu was terrible.
Yeah. I think another main reason why it's difficult for the JRPG market to make a huge break. I mean, it's been great this year, but a huge break on the West is because whenever you get into an JRPG world, it's very difficult to put yourself into it because you have to learn all the nouns.
It's always I like the term for these fancy worlds. Fancy worlds are the term. It applies to not just like a lot of JRPGs, but there's almost always like if you watch a season of anime, there's almost always a show or two where they have a fancy world. So like the rules you have to like. Not only are you learning like the rules of the game or like the way like a show's concept, its main characters, but you have to like really focus in on the world and be like, wait, this is what?
Because I mean,
That's why Pokemon does similar. America knows the world.
Yeah, it's. I can agree to that, and like.
Because I mean, even with Western RPGs, you pick up Dragon Age, you know your dragons,
The world of high fantasy is already set in stone. Like it's very hard to like.
That started with I guess before way back in Rome. It's our current